What's going on, everyone? LA Sports back with another video. And guys, the New York Football Giants have their new head coach, and it is the former Bills offensive coordinator Brian Daboll. Very interesting hire. I think it was something that we kind of could have guessed from a while back, and I think this is a good hire. I really do. It wasn't my top choice. I think if you watch my channel, I think you would know and see that I really wanted Brian Flores to be the guy. But I mentioned a lot that Brian Flores and Brian Daboll were the 1A and 1B. Now Joe Schoen, as soon as he became the general manager, I knew that it was more and more likely that that Brian Daboll would be the guy here in New York because of the ties he had, to Shane. Shane, really likes Daboll, and I think this is a really good hire. I think it's going to be one that, really tries to change the New York Giants and the way that they go along, offensively especially, and I think it's going to be a good hire, and I think it's really going to help the progression of Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, and the New York Giants moving forward. But taking a look at Brian Daboll and some of his traits and what he's got. He is 46 years of age. He's going to be turning 47 in April, so he's going to be entering the season as a 47-year-old. So I'd say fairly mid-aged. Brian Flores, I think he was clearly the, if it wasn't going to be Daboll, I think it was clearly going to be Brian Flores. And there's probably going to be reports that come out that, this was going to be really a tight race all the way to the end. Brian Daboll, an interesting fact on him, he is a fellow Canadian. I'm a Canadian. If you really watch my channel, you know I cover the Leafs, the Raptors, the Blue Jays, and of course the New York Giants. Canada doesn't have a NFL team, so I'm a Giants fan, and it's pretty interesting for me, at least, that Brian Daboll, he's Canadian, he's from the same province, so that is very cool. But Brian Daboll is going to be, like I said, a guy who's going to try and change the career of Daniel Jones, kind of try and turn it around. Same thing with Saquon Barkley, get them back on track, a lot like he did with Josh Allen. I think he was, he has a pretty good, he's had a pretty good influence on, what Josh Allen has been with his play calling. So I think it's a really interesting hire. And if we're taking a look at, where he's been throughout his career in terms of coaching in the NFL, we're going to start off in 2000 to 2001. He was the defensive assistant in New England, and then he became the wide receivers coach from 2002 to 2006. So he started off with the Patriots for a long time, and a lot of people think, he's got nothing on the defensive side of the ball, but he does have a little bit of history there, as of course, like I said, he was the defensive assistant there, and then he moved to the New York Jets to be the quarterback coach from 2007 to 2008. In 2009 and 10, he was the offensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns. He became the offensive coordinator of the Miami Dolphins in 2011. In 2012, he became the Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator, and then he went back to New England to be the tight ends coach from 2013 to 2016. Then he became the quarterback coach and offensive coordinator at Alabama in 2017. So he was with Tua, which was why I think a lot of people were kind of scared he would go off to Miami, as he was really being interviewed for the head coaching job there. He was set to have his second interview this coming week, and then after Alabama, the one season he spent there, he became the Bills offensive coordinator from 2018 till now, when he's going to now become the coach of the New York Giants. Brian Daboll's a 5-time Super Bowl champion, so he's a guy who's been around. He's definitely a guy who he knows what it takes to win. He's been around a lot of good organizations. He's been around Nick Saban and Bill Belichick, just like Joe Judge. Hopefully it goes a lot different, but I think Daboll's going to be a much different head coach than Joe Judge. I think he's going to be the play caller, and I think he's going to be a guy who's a lot more aggressive than Joe Judge was. I know Joe Judge was a very conservative head coach, and I think Daboll's going to be offensive, and he's going to go for it a lot more on fourth downs, and he's going to be a more aggressive coach, and I think that's going to be very good for the progression of the New York Football Giants. one thing that comes with Brian Daboll being the head coach of the New York Giants, means that we're not going to need a very strong. Not that we're not going to need a very strong offensive coordinator, but he's going to have a lot more of a decreased role compared to if we were to bring in a guy like Brian Flores, who, if you bring in Flores, you need a very good offensive coordinator because he's more on the defensive side of the ball, whereas Brian Daboll, it's the other way around. So he's going to need a very good defensive coordinator here in New York. And my favorite guy is Don Wink Martindale, who, of course, him and the Baltimore Ravens, they parted ways about a week ago. And an interesting, piece of information coming out from Pat Leonard. He said, one source told me the other day that Daboll intended to hire recently fired Baltimore Ravens defensive coordinator Don Wink Martindale as his Giants defensive coordinator if he got this job. Patrick Graham is still under contract, but he's being pursued for DC and head coach jobs elsewhere too. I think it increases the possibility of the Giants bringing in the defensive coordinator, Don Wink Martindale. I hope that's the guy because he is my favorite defensive coordinator in the league. I think if Brian Flores hung on or got the job, I think Patrick Graham would have hung on and kept the job unless he became the Minnesota Vikings head coach. I know he's getting interviews there, but in the end, I wouldn't expect I wouldn't expect Patrick Graham to, hang around as a defensive coordinator unless Daboll, has a conversation with him and, it's a different, he changes his mind. But it seems like he's going to go to another guy, and it seems like Patrick Graham's getting a lot of interest elsewhere. So this is a very good, interesting hire for the New York Giants head coach. There's a ton of Buffalo Bills that are upset right now. A lot of them came out to Twitter and in interviews. Stephon Diggs, most importantly, and Josh Allen. Josh Allen said, he's upset, but he kind of saw this coming for a while, and he's gonna, sit down with Sean McDermott, the Pagulas, and Brandon Beane, and figure out who his next offensive coordinator is going to be. But Stephon Diggs said he was, he was, as news and good praises about Brian Daboll were coming out, he was, upset, and he was kind of getting nervous because he didn't want him to leave. So that just goes to show you how good of a play caller Brian Daboll is, and that there's a lot of buzz around him, about him around the league, that he's going to be a good head coach. And I hope he's able to bring the New York Football Giants back to relevancy and back to winning football. I think Joe Schoen, this was his guy all along, and I'm happy that the Maras and the Tisch family, they didn't influence his decision, because I really do think they wanted Brian Flores, and if Joe Schoen wanted Daboll, I'm happy he's getting his guy. But guys, that's all I got in this video. You guys let me know down below in the comment section your thoughts on the New York Giants hiring Brian Daboll to be the next and the 22nd head coach of the New York Football Giants. And let me know who you want the coordinators to be. Let me know all that good stuff down below. I'm super excited about this hire, and I'm excited about the season and the New York Giants moving forward. That's all I got in this video, guys. Please leave a like on the video, subscribe for you guys, and we'll see you guys all in the next video. Let's go, Giants.